Hello, you guys.
What's up, guys?
Bri and Charles here. As you guys know, Charles and I are married.
We are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Charles and I are married, and we also are co-owners of Happy Flow Yoga. So we own our own business, and the majority of the time, even right now, Charles is still considered an essential business, and so he goes to work, and then I run the studio during the day. But then at nighttime, we're both working on the studio together. And throughout this entire time that we've owned the studios, 2 years, we've lived together this entire time. And we have had to put tools
And rules
into place so that we don't meld. It's really challenging to have a relationship, like a marriage relationship, but then also have a business relationship and not let those two worlds come together. And so we've put these tools in place so that even though we're business partners, we are still married.
And we also realize that many of you out there may be experiencing similar difficulties that we've already had to overcome.
Yeah.
Because of how everyone's quarantining in their house right now. So we're bringing you guys some of the strategies that we've used, and we've had like relationship coaches and all kinds of people to kind of guide us on how to not only have a relationship that survives, but a relationship that thrives.
And we didn't come up with any of this on our own. This was all told to us by other people that we've put into place. And we were actually talking about this yesterday or the day before that. We were like, oh, if we're going crazy, that means other people are going crazy. And yesterday we were literally at each other's throats all day long.
All day long.
All day long at each other's throats. And we were like, should we even really talk about our tools and our tactics that we do?
But we're going to be super vulnerable with you guys, and
because if we're going through it and we have those tools to overcome it,
so many other people have to be going through the same things
and not have the tools to be able to like be at each other's throats, argue, but then
love each other and get over it.
Yeah, get over it, talk about it, love each other afterwards. So let's talk about 5-minute timeouts.
5-minute timeout. That's exactly what it is. So whenever we start escalating, and that's the normal thing that happens.
Anybody else escalate?
One person says something, and then the other person says something,
louder.
And then escalates, and then it becomes a blowout fight. And the way to just eliminate all that drama and all that wasted energy is just throw out a 5-minute timeout.
As soon as it starts to escalate, now you should not be like 5-minute timeout.
Although we have done
that before. But a 5-minute timeout, you can say, hey, I'm requesting a 5-minute timeout. We'll talk in 5 minutes. And then generally the other person will go, okay, cool.
Or they'll give a little pushback and then finally say okay. And then sometimes 5 minutes isn't enough.
So you have to request
so we'll
another
increase
one.
It to another 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and
you only do it 5 increments at a time, because otherwise you can be like, well, I call a 5-minute timeout. Well, I call a 10-minute timeout. Well, I call a 15-minute timeout. So
the reason this strategy is so effective is because when we start escalating, we start becoming irrational. We can't think in the right mind. So therefore, when we call a 5-minute timeout, it gives us exactly what it implies, a timeout. It gives us time for our mind to reset, to unwind, and to go back to its original state, so that when you approach each other after the 5 minutes, it's so much easier to communicate because you're not in that fight or flight mode. You don't want to kill each other. So now you can be rational, and then sometimes you start escalating again, and then you just recall the 5-minute timeout.
Just call another one. Next, no phone time. No phone or no work time.
We live in a time where we are distracted by everything, right? Our phone's ping, and we're never really present with each other when we need to be.
Yeah.
So
we'll be having we'll be having husband and wife time at home where we're not necessarily at work, but we're on our phones. Or we'll be having husband and wife time where we're at dinner, but we have our phones out and we're not present. Like, I'm hanging out with my friends, he's hanging out with his friends, or he's working on his phone and I'm hanging out with my friends, and he wants to talk about work and I'm talking about friends, or I want to talk about work and he's with his friends. So we have designated no phone time every meal.
We try
We
to
try
we
every
try to do
meal.
it every meal, and it's so that we don't take away from each other. Because just because we're in the same room doesn't mean we're connected. Doesn't mean we're bonding. So the average, I think I've heard a statistic. The average married couple speaks 27 minutes a week.
A week?
A week,
Wow.
which is insane.
Wow.
Now it could be a day, but I think it's a week.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy, and
That's
that's
crazy.
no
That
way to
makes me
live.
so sad,
That
you
makes
know?
me sad too. Like you should love the partner that you're with.
Yeah.
You don't want to just be with them because that's the choice you made. You want to be with them because they're an amazing human being.
Yeah, because you fell in love with that person for a reason. You know, you probably talked to that person 27 minutes, an hour when you first started dating and falling in love with each other. We also have, then that makes you not feel guilty, right? If one of your, if I want to talk to you all day long, right? Or if you want to talk to me and I'm busy and I'm working, we know that I don't have to feel guilty if I'm so busy on my computer right now, because I know at mealtime it's designated husband and wife time. I know that I can be fully in my computer even if I'm sitting next to my spouse. I can be fully in my computer knowing that in 2 hours we're going to have our time together. And if you want to talk to me or I want to talk to you, the other person, so let's say if I want to talk to him, I can wait 2 hours because I know that husband and wife time is coming. I can see the light. I'm not stuck in the present moment anymore, right? In the presence of, when are we even going to talk? We never talk. You're always in your computer. You're always in your phone. You know that time is specifically coming. Attached to no phone time is an end of work time, a specific end of work time. So we break this rule a lot, but it's good to have the rule in place. And it changes from 11 p.m., 10 p.m., or 9 p.m. It's always agreed upon, but this is the time when we are closing our computers and we are not working for the rest of the day. But it has to be communicated with each other. So let's say today we're going to be done working at 8 p.m. so we can have date night.
So I was thinking, and this is real talk. This is
real
us
talk.
actually talking right now. I was thinking we could have date night from 7 to 9, and then after 9, I'll hop back on and do the things that I need to do because there's a lot on my plate right now. How does that sound?
I don't like that idea, but I will compromise 7 to 9 so that we have 2 hours together. We can be with each other without our phones, and then after 9 o'clock, I can do my self-care and wind down.
Thank you for the compromise.
We talked about it. We talked it through, right? There might have been a little bit more discussion if we weren't on camera, but you throw it out there. Hey, this is the time. They might be like, that's not going to work for me tonight because we have a million things going on. And then you know what? At 7 o'clock, at 7:59, I'm going to be looking at my watch like, I'm sorry, at 6:59, I'm going to be looking at my watch and be like, it's 7 p.m.
Well, not only that,
Close your computer.
I have it scheduled on my phone. So I know when date night is. I know when our time is slotted.
Yeah, and I get so excited for it that I don't need a computer or I don't need a reminder. I just know. So if you are the type of person to be like, oh shoot, date night's in 3 minutes, then you should probably put it on your calendar. If you have a family, like if it's not just you and your spouse, especially if you're at home right now, quarantined, family game night. So do a date night with your whole family, where you're not really on the TV, just games, no phones allowed. Maybe it can be there, but you can't be scrolling through for emergencies, but definitely a designated night where you guys just maybe after dinner, maybe Friday night, maybe Saturday night, maybe Sunday night, just after dinner, just games and family bonding. It's really, really, really important. Separate room workspace. So if we can do this, guys, you can do this.
Because we live in 400 square feet.
We live in 400 square feet. We literally only have 2 rooms in our entire house. We can't even really call it a house. In our entire living space, we have 2 rooms. We have a living room and a bedroom, which is connected by our kitchen. But if you need to, I suggest one of you being in the bedroom and one of you being in the living room, or being on opposite sides of the living room with each other. Or when you really just need space. I've done this before. I'm so guilty of going to get gas when I don't really need to go get gas. Like, I'm just like, I need to go get gas before I forget. I'll be right back. And so topping off your tank, even though you only have 1 gallon to fill. Just separating yourself. And it's really hard to separate ourselves because so often we'll have like a nighttime bickering that will roll into the next morning. And that's just being completely vulnerable with you guys. We'll have a nighttime bicker or fight that'll roll into the next morning. And the only way that we can kind of heal is by separating ourselves from each other. And he goes to work and I go to work and we separate and we only talk when we have to talk about business. But then at 6 p.m. when you come home, it's kind of like we've had those 12 hours
to cool down,
where we haven't talked about anything emotional. And that's exactly what we needed. But in this time right now, we don't have those 12 hours. Your spouse is sitting right across the way from you, possibly giving you dirty looks when you're not looking, doing this.
We would never do that.
We read that in a book somewhere. So yeah, when you really, really, really just need to cool off, like yesterday, I sat in my car. When you left the studio, then I left the studio, and I drove really slow, and then I sat in my car, and I kind of cooled off. I waited. I probably sat in my car for like 5 minutes, and then when I walked into the house, I walked into a separate room than you did. So I was in the kitchen for probably like 15 minutes. And he knew that we needed that separation, that we needed that time where we were not communicating with each other. And when we finally communicated, it was fine.
We were fine.
There wasn't really any more escalation after that because we both needed that cool down. But if we stayed in the same room with each other, I'm an escalator, if you haven't figured that out. I escalate the situation very, very, very quickly.
And I try and separate myself from the situation, and it drives her nuts.
Because I just want to escalate it, where he wants to separate himself, and I just want to escalate it. Which in turn, he then escalates, and then I separate. So our natural things bring out the opposite of the other person. So that's all that I have for what we do in a workspace with each other. Separating the romantic relationship or just the regular relationship with the business relationship or the day-to-day work relationship. And we are not perfect. We are not perfect. We are not calling you out saying we are perfect.
If you guys have any strategies that you guys use, make sure you put it in the comments below.
Yeah.
So that we can see what you guys use, because there might be a better way of doing things.
The more help we can get, the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we will see you guys later. Stay happy. Go take a walk if you need to. Go get gas. Go lock yourself in the bathroom for 5 minutes. Whatever you need to do to just cool off if you need that. And then also set up a date night if you haven't done so already. And set a timer on your phone if you need to for no phone time, if we're on a no phone, no work time and one of us has just like an amazing idea, we have to leave the room and go send the other person an email. That's what our rule is. Leave the room, send an email, don't talk about it, get it off your chest so you don't forget that really great idea, and then come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we will see you soon.
See you guys.